Let's bring in Ted Williams now. He's a former D.C. detective, defense attorney, and a Fox News contributor. I'll tell you, Ted, you listen to that press conference and you just think, how does something like that happen? The officer accidentally pulls her firearm as opposed to pulling her taser. Obviously, when you're in the heat of trying to make an arrest, things can get confusing. But my God, what a mistake to make.
Yeah, you're right. Things can get confusing, but this is a tragedy of epic proportion. This is the last thing that Minnesota needs at this immediate time with the trial of Derek Chauvin going on there in Minneapolis. But I got to tell you, what stood out to me in this and listening to this press conference was that this was a senior police officer. This wasn't a rookie. This is someone who had training. And you would have expected someone with training, even in the course of a situation like this, to have taken the appropriate action. She pulled out her taser, she thought, and what she actually pulled out was her gun. And what our audience need to understand and visualize is that the officers wear what is known as a Sam Brown belt. And on the one side of it, they have their taser. On the other side, they have their gun. And what she did was to pull the gun, and this 20-year-old kid is now dead. This is just a tragedy. What they're going to have to do, John, is they're going to have to do a thorough investigation. The FBI is going to have to get involved. They're going to have to be independent investigations. And the Minnesota Bureau of Investigation is also going to have to get involved and conduct a thorough investigation in this matter.
You know, the mayor of Brooklyn Center, Mike Elliott, did not hesitate when asked, where he said that he would support the removal of that officer from her job. But Chief Tim Gannon of the police force said, my position is that officer is afforded due process like anyone else. She will not be returning to duty until the investigation is completed by the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. He went on to say, I think we can look at the video and ascertain whether or not she will be returning. So you have the mayor on one side, Ted, saying, yeah, she should be fired. But then you have the police chief saying, no, she needs to be afforded due process. Where do you come down?
Well, I can tell you, as a lawyer who have represented police officers, I was the lawyer for the Fraternal Order of Police here in the Washington, D.C. area. And I come down on the fact that due process, she is deserving of due process. And if they find that she negligently used that firearm or when she thought she was using a taser, she should be given what we define as a trial board, and she should be terminated perhaps from the police force. But what's going to happen also is they're going to look at this from a criminal perspective to see if she should be indicted as a result of this. So there's a lot of moving parts that are going on in this matter, John. And they're going to be going on for days to come. The sad tragedy is that I'm hoping that the citizens will not burn that city down tonight. And that is very troubling.
All right. Well, as the police chief said, he's going to have his officers out there to protect the building. Sandra's here, too. Sandra?
Yeah, and Ted, hey, it's Sandra here. And, I'm just looking, sort of trying to gauge reaction since we just learned so much after that 40-minute news conference. Obviously, the city and its residents, anyone who is out among these protests has now had a chance to watch this video for themselves, to hear that officer yelling taser before she actually pulled her gun and shot and fired this man sitting in the vehicle. I just wonder how, obviously in anticipation of what could be another night of unrest in that city, possible violence as well, what we're hearing, the precautions that city is going to take. We got a bit of an update from the mayor there. We know the National Guard has been deployed, but how now having this body cam video will change things and how people will respond to it.
Well, Sandra, I wish that they would have responded in an affirmative manner, realizing that the city administrators out there are giving them as much information as possible. But I think in looking at the eyes of the demonstrators, what they see is another young black kid that has been killed at the hands of law enforcement officers. And they're going to go out and they're going to protest. I would hope that it would be peacefully, but I don't think it will be. And the sad commentary is that all of the people that are going to be out there protesting are not going to really give a damn about this kid. There are going to be people who are going to be burglarizing places. They're going to be looting places. They're going to be burning places down. And that is not what should take place. I hope that the citizens in that community will honor this young man and his unfortunate death, but not go out there and try to burn their own city down and not loot and rob and steal and do all of those things in the name of what happened here with Mr. Wright. That is just wrong, Sandra.
You know, and Ted, just to follow up on that, when we go back inside that news conference and some of the questions that we heard, I believe it was mostly reporters. There could have been members of the community that were firing off questions as well. We don't have a way of knowing that. We believe it was a room of reporters. But it certainly got confrontational at times, Ted, with the police chief, with the mayor, and holding them to their own opinions on what they know about this.
Well, it's a very emotional time for the community, for individuals who were news reporters and other people who were there present at this press conference. And at one stage, as you perhaps know, the chief of police walked out of the press conference. That made it more emotional. Of course, he came back and he answered as many questions as he possibly could. But it's a very emotional, tragic time for that entire community. And so they're going to have to go through this. And the sad commentary is, again, Sandra, is that a young 20-year-old kid is dead. Is dead. And the other tragedy is that an officer, a senior officer, may have very well made a mistake. And you said it right, Sandra. When she popped off that what she thought was the taser, she was hollering, "Taser, taser." And it was really a little, or just shortly afterwards, that she said, "I shot him."
Yeah. Hey, Ted, as we watch the video again, there's something I noticed that you can see quite clearly in the video as she draws her weapon, and that is, you see the officer to her right. You see on the left side of his belt the yellow taser that he's got on his Sam Brown belt. There you see it right there. There's the handle of it. She's obviously right-handed. So in training, there you see the taser on the right. She's got her weapon in her right hand. In training, are they taught in high-pressure situations to make sure that they reach across their body, Ted, to pull that taser? I'm trying to figure out why she would go for the right side for the firearm as opposed to the left side and the taser.
You know, John, she's going to have to answer that question. But yes, in training, they are taught. And this training is not just given once in a blue moon. Just about on a yearly basis, officers are trained on using their firearm, and they're also trained on using their taser. And they should definitely, even in high-stress situations, know the difference. But I can tell you, this is not the first incident of this nature. There have been other incidents of a similar nature where an officer believed that they were pulling their taser, and in fact, they wound up shooting and killing somebody with their gun. That has happened.
All right, Ted Williams, always appreciate you joining us. Thank you. After a lengthy news conference there in Minnesota, we expect to hear from the governor about an hour from now, John.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more information coming through this afternoon as we continue. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.